The Meditations of Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, Book 6. The matter of the universe is obedient and easily changed. The intelligence which governs it has no cause in itself of doing evil to any. It has no malice, nor can it do anything maliciously, nor is anyone hurt by it. It is the cause of all that happens, as it executes all things. Provided you act the part that becomes you, let it be of no account with you, whether you do it shivering with cold or agreeably warm, whether drowsy through long watching or refreshed with sleep, whether in good report or bad report, whether by dying or by any other action. For dying is one piece of the natural business of every living creature. 'Tis sufficient, then, if it be well performed. Look narrowly into things. Let not the proper quality or dignity of anything escape your observation. All things now existing shall speedily be changed, either by exhaling and rarefying, if all be one substance, or be dissolved and dispersed into the several elements. The governing mind in the universe knows its own dispositions and actions, and the nature of that matter it is acting upon. The best sort of revenge is not to become like the injurious. Delight thyself in this one thing and rest in it, to be going from one kind social action to another with remembrance of God. The governing part is that which rouses and turns and forms itself, such as it chooses to be, and makes every event appear such to itself as it inclines. All things are accomplished by the nature presiding in the whole, nor can they be influenced by any other, either surrounding it without, or contained as distinct within it, or externally annexed to it. Either the universe is a confused mass and intertexture, soon to be dispersed, or one orderly whole under a providence. If the former, why should I wish to stay longer in this confused mixture, or be solicitous about anything, further than how to become earth again? Or why should I be disturbed about anything? The dispersion will overtake me, do what I please, but if the latter be the case, then I adore the governor of the whole. I stand firm and trust in him. When you find yourself forced, as it were, into some confusion or disturbance by surrounding objects, return into yourself as speedily as you can, and depart no more from the true harmony of the soul than what is absolutely unavoidable. You shall acquire greater power of retaining this harmony by having frequent recourse to it. Had you at once a stepmother and a mother, though you respected the former, yet your constant resort and refuge would be the latter. Such to you is the court and philosophy. Return often to your true mother, philosophy, and refresh yourself. She will make the affairs of the court tolerable to you, and make you tolerable to those about it. You may revolve such thoughts as these about the nicest delicacies of sense, about food. This is the dead carcass of a fish, a fowl, a hog; about wine. This is the juice of a little grape. About your purple robes. This is the wool of a sheep, steeped in the blood of a little shellfish. About venereal enjoyments. They are the attrition of a base part of our body, and a convulsive sort of accretion of a mucus. These conceptions, touching so nearly and explaining the nature of these subjects, how powerful are they to display to us their despicable value? Thus we should employ the mind in all parts of life. When things occur which at first seem worthy of high estimation, we should strip them naked and view their meanness, and cast aside these pompous descriptions of them, by which they seem so glorious. External pomp and high language are great sophisters, and most impose upon us when we are employed in matters commonly reputed of great dignity. Remember what Crates said about the solemn gravity of Xenocrates. The objects of vulgar admiration may be reduced to some general classes. First, such as are preserved by mere cohesion, or regular but inanimate structure or organization, such as stones, timber, fig trees, vines, and olive trees. Men, a rank higher, admire things preserved by an animal soul, such as flocks and herds. The admiration of a third and higher class of men with more elegant taste turns upon what is accomplished by a rational soul, not as it is akin to the universal spirit, but as artificial and otherwise ingenious and acute, and merely on this account. Thus numbers of slaves are valued. But he who honors and admires the rational soul as universal and social, or public-spirited in this universal city, he will despise these other objects of admiration, and above all things he will study to preserve his own rational soul in these social dispositions and affections, and cooperate with those souls which are akin to it in the same purpose. Some things hasten into being, some hasten to be no more. Some parts of things in being are already extinct. These fluxes and changes renew the world as a constant flux of particular periods of time, ever present to us new parts of the infinite eternity. In this vast river, what is there among the things swept away with it that one can value, since it can never be stopped or retained? As if one should grow fond of one of the sparrows as it flies by, when it shall be immediately out of sight. Such is the life of each man, an exhalation from blood, or a breathing in of air, and such as it is to draw in that air which you are presently to breathe out again every minute. Such also is this whole power of breathing, which you received as it were yesterday or the day before when you were born, and must presently restore it again to the source whence you derived it. There is little valuable either in perspiring like vegetables or breathing as cattle and wild beasts do, or in having sensible impressions made upon the imagination, or in being moved like puppets by our several passions and appetites, or in mere herding together, or in being nourished. There is nothing in this superior to the discharging again what is superfluous of the food we have taken in. What then is valuable? To be received with claps of applause? Not at all. Nor is the applause of tongues more valuable. The praises of the vulgar are nothing but the noise of tongues. If you have, then, quit the pursuit of this trifling sort of glory, what remains is valuable. This one thing, I imagine, to move or stop yourself in all desires or pursuits, according to the proper fabric or structure of your nature. For this is what all design and art is tending to. This is all its aim, that the thing formed by art should be adapted to the work it is designed for. This, the planter and the vine dresser, the horse rider and the breeder of the hound are in quest of. At what does all education and instruction aim? In this, therefore, is placed all that is valuable. If you succeed well in this, you need not be solicitous to acquire anything further. Won't you then cease to value other things? If you don't, you'll never attain to freedom, self-contentment, independency, or tranquility, for you must be enviously and suspiciously vying with those who can deprive you of such things as you highly value, laying snares for those who possess them, and pining with vexation when you want them, and even accusing the gods. But the reverencing and honoring your own intellectual part will make you agreeable to yourself, harmonious with your fellows, and in perfect concord with the gods, praising whatsoever they distribute or appoint to men. The elements are tossed upwards, downwards, and all around. The motions of virtue are like none of these, but are of a more divine sort, going on in a way not easily discerned and ever prosperous. What strange conduct is this? Some men cannot speak a good word of their contemporaries with whom they live, and one would thence imagine that they could not value being praised by them, and yet are very solicitous about gaining the praises of posterity, whom they never saw nor shall see. This seems as foolish as to be concerned that we cannot obtain the praises of the ages which preceded our existence. If anything seems exceedingly difficult for you to accomplish, don't conclude it to be impossible to all men, but rather if you see anything possible to man and a part of his proper work, conclude that you also may attain to it. If in the exercises one has torn us with his nails or bruised us accidentally with his head, we express no resentment. We are not offended, nor do we suspect him for the future, as a person secretly designing our destruction, and yet we are on our guard against him, not as an enemy or a person suspected, but with a good-natured caution for our own safety. Let us thus behave in all parts of life, and conceive many things thus done, as in the exercises. Let us, as I said, be upon our guard, but without suspicion or enmity. If anyone can convince me or show me that my sentiments or conduct has been wrong, I will joyfully alter them. 'Tis truth I am searching for, which never hurts any man, but men are often hurt by remaining in error or in ignorance. I endeavor to do my duty in what becomes me. Other things don't give me solicitude. They are either inanimate or irrational, or wandering from the right way and ignorant of it. I endeavor, as one possessed of reason, to use the brute animals and all other irrational objects with magnanimity and freedom, and to act the kind and social part toward my fellow men who enjoy reason as I do. In all things implore the assistance of the gods, and repute it of no consequence for what space of time you shall continue thus employed. 3 hours of such a life is sufficient, as well as the 3 ages of Nestor. Alexander of Macedon and his muleteer, when they died, were in a like condition. They were either resumed into the original productive causes of all things, or dispersed into the atoms. Consider how many different things are done in each one of our bodies, and in our souls too, in the very same moment. And you will the less wonder that far more, nay, that all things which now happen at once exist in this one universal system we call the world. Should one desire you to spell the name Antoninus, would you not distinctly pronounce to him each one of the letters? Should he turn into any angry dispute about it, would you also turn angry, and not rather mildly count over the several letters to him? Thus, in our present business, our duty consists of a great many numbers, or elements, according to the many different relations and obligations of each person. Ought we not to observe all these calmly and without anger at those who are angry with us, go straight on in executing what is our present business? Is it not cruel to restrain men from desiring or pursuing what appears to them as their proper good or advantage? And yet you seem chargeable in a certain manner with this conduct, when you are angry at the mistakes and wrong actions of men, for all are carried toward what appears to them their proper good. But say you it is not their proper good. Well, instruct them, then, and teach them better, and don't be angry with them. Death is the cessation of the sensual impressions, of the impulses of the appetites and passions, of the toilsome reasonings, and of the servitude to the flesh. 'Tis very dishonorable in life, that the soul should fail and desert its duty, while the body can hold out and sustain its part. Take care you don't degenerate into the manners of the Caesars, or be tinctured by them. Preserve your simplicity of manners, goodness, integrity, gravity, freedom from ostentation, love of justice, piety, good nature, kind affection, steadfast firmness in your duty. Endeavor earnestly to continue such as philosophy requires you to be. Reverence the gods, support the interests of mankind. Life is short. The sole enjoyment of this terrestrial life is in the purity and holiness of our dispositions, and in kind actions. Act as it becomes the scholar of Antoninus Pius. Imitate his constant, resolute tenor of rational actions, his equability on all occasions, his sanctity, his serenity of countenance, his sweetness of temper, his contempt of vain glory, and his close attention in examining everything. Remember how he never quitted any subject till he had thoroughly examined it and understood it, and how he bore those who accused him unjustly without making any angry returns, how he was ever calm without hurry, how he discouraged all accusations, how accurately he inquired into the manners and actions of men, how cautious he was of reproaching any, how free from fear, suspicion, or sophistry, how he was contented with a little, as to his habitation, furniture, dress, table, attendance, how patient he was of labor, how hard to be provoked. He could persist in business till the evening without easing himself through his great abstemiousness. How steadfast and evenly he was in his conduct to his friends, and patient of their opposition to his sentiments, and how joyfully he received any better informations from them. How religious he was without superstitious dread, that thus the hour of death may come upon you, well aware of it, and prepared to meet it as it came upon him. Awake and call yourself up, and as you see when you are fully roused, that these were but dreams which disturbed you, so when you are awake in the business of life, consider the things which may disturb you as of a like nature with those which disturbed you in sleep.